What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Profit Picks. Rob Veno back with us again. We did some good work on Friday. We said we'll pick a day during the week, whether it be Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever, to come back and chop it up again. And here he is. How you doing, Rob?
I'm good today, buddy. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I had a big ticket winner yesterday, and I'm feeling good about another big ticket that I have going tonight. So hopefully, we can cash some of those. Um, did yesterday treat you well?
It treated me well college basketball wise, 2-0 in college hoop. Just the reverse in NBA. I had the Clippers, who I think a lot of people on the Clippers, at least people that we know. And of course, they did what the Clippers do and let us all down. And I went against the trend yesterday, Ski. We talked a little bit about it on the Wager Talk show. I went against a trend with the San Antonio Brooklyn over, and it was never even close. I mean, from the opening tip, that game was going to be an under. So 0-2 NBA, 2-0 college hoop. College hoop continues to roll. We'll see if we can get this NBA rolling. It's been a weird season for me in this league.
Yeah, it has a lot of outliers, but let's get into it a little bit. We have 9 NBA games. We won't get to all of them, but I want to try to pick some of your brain. I'll talk a little bit to Jay Money. I'll talk to Teddy a little bit here. I'll talk to a couple more guys throughout the day. But let's start with this Atlanta and Dallas game, Rob. It opened -3.5 for the Mavs. It's down to -2. Probably has something to do with all of these guys on the injury report. Total open 232.5. Currently between 233, 233.5. Looks like Luca is at least likely to go in this one. Should also get Dorian Finney-Smith back. Can we trust the Mavericks laying points? Do we trust the Hawks on the road? How are you looking at this one?
Well, I think we would trust points. Certainly Atlanta can score their share, but they're not that fast paced. They're a little bit quicker paced recently, but Dallas is the side I'm concerned about here, Ski, because it's our first real tirade thrown to the GM and the owner by Luka Doncic, who went in and apparently demands that the roster be upgraded because he doesn't like where the team is at. He doesn't like the state of the team, I think was his exact words, which I don't know if that means doesn't like the locker room atmosphere, doesn't like the personnel on the court. There's a lot of things here. And then to make this even crazier, there's a report out there that they're going to go 1-for-1 swap Reggie Bullock back to the Knicks for Cam Reddish. And I'm thinking, if you think you're going to straighten your locker room out by bringing Cam Reddish in, you can go back to high school and find out that nobody likes Cam Reddish. And Tom Thibodeau threw a fit when the Knicks acquired him from Atlanta, got him out of the Atlanta locker room, which was a mess at the time and kind of still is. But I just don't know where Dallas is now. That being said, I always trust Luke is going to put a triple-double type performance on the floor every time he steps on. He might do his whining, which I was about to say behind closed doors, but it's certainly gotten outside of those doors now if I'm reading it. But I think he'll play. And I think Atlanta's in a decent spot right now. But like you said, I don't trust him on the road whatsoever. The total here is sitting at about 233. I didn't play at Ski, and I probably won't. But if I were going to recommend anything to get involved with, I might get involved with over here. There's a good chance that both Dorian Finney-Smith and Josh Green come back here, which could disrupt Dallas's flow 1-8, right? Neither one. I mean, Finney-Smith has been replaced kind of by Christian Wood at the power forward spot. So we'll see how Jason Kidd works through these rotations. And that disruptiveness might cause a lot of people to lean toward the Hawks. Money's come in on the Hawks. I wouldn't disagree. I just didn't get there myself.
All right. And the home road splits, as far as the total, I have them as 28 and 17 combined to the over, which should be about 60%. So that would be agreeing with what you said there. And let me see if I can point out another game. We've been doing enough work. I think I can kind of target some of these games that you've been looking at. And let's see if this is one. Maybe I'm wrong. Indiana, OKC. It opened pretty high, though. It opened 241, and it's dropping down to 238.5. You have an Indiana team that's playing up tempo, top 5 in pace the last 5 games. We know OKC likes to play it fast, and OKC is playing better defense lately, but I don't think of either one of these teams as a great defensive team. Personally, I'm going to be on Miles Turner over his 17.5 points. I just feel like they're showcasing him. He had 30 last night. He had 29 the night or game before that. And OKC, it's a great matchup for opposing centers. So I like Miles Turner's over his points. Do you think this total is moving in the right direction coming down, or would you play it the other way, Rob?
Well, I'm always leery when it gets to 240 plus, right? I think we all stop and think at that moment, okay, do I really want to go there or do I not want to go there? And, they've pushed it backwards a little bit to high 230s. I can understand it. What I think, Ski, if you're just going to play a knee reaction type side here, you probably want to fade Indiana first quarter. Indiana first quarter is the worst team in the NBA. I have in front of me 14-30 against the spread first quarter, and OKC starting lineup pretty much clicks at this point in time. I mean, they've done some impressive stuff on the road. Now, again, where that's concerned, you're going to come home after a 4-game road trip, and we generally don't like to play those teams after extended road trips, right? So that's the kind of the grind to just jumping on OKC first quarter. It's a team that I've said it before, and I know it's not really, worthy of any, Einstein type theories here, but Oklahoma City plays for 48 minutes. They just play and play. And Josh Giddey, I saw him interviewed the other day, and they just like each other. This is a good unit that certainly has exceeded expectations. I can remember talking to you way back in August in Las Vegas about team totals. And OKC, Ski, if I remember right, at that point was maybe like 25.5 over under. And they're about to get there before the All-Star break. So that's how good they're playing. And I don't like to play teams first game home after the long road trip, but I just like the way Oklahoma City is going right now. And I would try them first quarter because Indiana's just been such a slow starting team.
I can't talk you off of that. Definitely agree with the slow start for Indiana. And a lot of it, Hallie has been the guy who's, been the comeback guy for them in the second half or a lot of parts of the game. So they don't have him out there. Maybe they get buried early and often. So we'll see how that one shakes out. There's 2 games that I kind of want to combine together, but I really want to get your opinion on one first because I like one side. I know Jay likes another side because I just finished talking to him. And just curious where you stand on this one. We're going to look at Cleveland and Memphis. It opened Memphis -6.5. It's up to 7.5. There's a lone 8 at Caesars. Total open 224.5, and it's anywhere between 227.5 and 228 right now. Looks like the Cavaliers will be without Donovan Mitchell and only Green out for the Grizzlies. So first, I'll say this. I'm on Desmond Bane over his 2.5 3-pointers. I think that's a really good play because he's hit it the last 5 games. Cavs are a bottom 10 rebounding team in that same span, and he's averaging 3.1 3-pointers made at home. Now, outside of that, I think the Grizzlies are the right side here, Rob. And really, we don't want to catch that falling knife. They've won 10 games in a row. They're obviously, all the recent performance, last 5 game stats are going to favor them. But I just think it's the kind of team where, we've talked about the Suns in this respect in previous years, but the point spread is almost irrelevant. They're 18-3-1 against the spread their last 22 wins. So when they win, it's by a crazy margin. Who cares that they're laying 7.5 here versus a good Cavs team? And also, I just can't help but think, with Donovan Mitchell sideline, Memphis is a really good defensive team. Number 1 the last 5 games. They can probably key in on some of these other guys and make life miserable for the others. So just a combination of all those things, how poor Cleveland has been on the road this year compared to how Memphis has been at home.
Right.
I think the Grizzlies are the right side. What do you think?
Yeah, and where Cleveland's concerned, Ski, compared to themselves, right, how good they've been at home because they're a great home team and how bad they've been on there. Well, I don't want to say bad, but there's a big difference between their home and road performances. So you take Mitchell out of there. And I'm kind of with you on Memphis right now. Why would you stand in front of that train? I had them the other day. I think I mentioned this yesterday when we were on with Teddy on the Wager Talk show. I played Memphis first half on MLK Day, and they didn't get their first half. But boy, the second half, they just came out and went crazy and won by a huge margin. And at home, they're winning by 12 points a game. So to your point about don't be afraid of a line, with this team, they score so quickly and in such bunches that you really don't have to be afraid. And they are healthy, right? That Dylan Brooks came back the other day. This will be his second game back now. So you put that whole roster together against Cleveland. And personally, Ski, when I look toward Cleveland, and I know the backcourt is a huge upgrade when Garland and Mitchell are both on the floor, but still, when I look at Cleveland, I always look to that front line as being some type of advantage, right? With Jared Allen, with Mobley. But here, I don't know that it's an advantage against this team. They've got as many trees to put in there. Valanciunas is tough to move out. So I don't know. I think they kind of negate what Cleveland does best. I think Memphis at some point in time at home gets on a scoring run. And my fear, if you have Cleveland, would be that they can't match it without Mitchell playing. Garland can pick up some slack, and Karis LeVert is nice. But Cleveland's still susceptible to drought. So I'd probably be on Memphis here if I was on it. I see a big push in the total to 227.5. That's probably, courtesy of the Grizzlies and their offense. But if I had to play, I'd be on Memphis.
All right. I like hearing that because it's in my pocket. And I'll mention this, and this is what I'll combine it with another game. We'll just take a little bit of logic class. We had some logic class last Friday about that parlay, because I'm not a big parlay player, but sometimes it makes sense. Certain situations, you line things up, you get numbers or etc., and it makes sense to take it. So that 3-team parlay in the NFL minus 109, it was a winner. We had reasons to take them. It was 217-0 angles on two teams, and it was a 76 point something percent angle on the other. So what I'm looking at today, and this is going to be the same kind of concept money line parlay, is ride the hot teams. We don't want to catch that falling knife. They're hot. Why are we going against them? And those two teams today, you have Grizzlies on a 10-game win streak. The Grizzlies on a 10-game win streak, and Denver also on a 5-game win streak. So home favorites on a 5 or more game win streak, they are 76.7% straight up. That's dating all the way back to 1994. And if you combine both of these just on a money line parlay, you're getting somewhere around minus 144. The implied probability of that is 59%, which means, there's an edge. You got two teams who have lost 3 games at home all season long. I think it makes sense to put them both together at that minus 144 price to just win the game. Any opinion from you on that, Rob?
Well, the only thing that you would, or the immediate comeback to that would be just that Denver's on back-to-backs off of a game against Portland, but it's back-to-back at home. And it's back-to-back against a team that might not have Rudy Gobert. And I know real quick, Jokic had a great game last night, right? Triple-double. But there's pieces in that Denver rotation that didn't have great games. Like you would expect Bones Highland not to shoot 1 for 7 from 3 again tonight. So even if Jokic doesn't go crazy, there's other pieces to pick up that slack tonight. I'm a big bounce back guy. I think that guys, they get back to what they do on an average nightly basis. And I think that guys like that and guys like Aaron Gordon probably get back to what they do. So listen, Minnesota, I had talked about with Jay on Monday, Ski, and I watched them. Maybe you caught the same thing Friday night. They played a game in overtime against the Cavs, or maybe not overtime, regulation time against the Cavs. But it came down to the final minute where Minnesota had to play defense. And I'll be darned if they didn't play defense. And Anthony Edwards is waving the towel, and they're all so excited to play defense. And I thought, wow, this looks like a change for Minnesota. All of a sudden, they want to play defense. And then they come out and give up 126 at home to Utah. So throw the defense theory out the window. Minnesota just had a night, and it's not going to be a thing. And if you can't play defense against the Nuggets right now, I tell you what, Ski, power ratings-wise, I've raised the Nuggets up right now to where they're the 3rd highest power-rated team in the NBA. And in altitude where they excel, and the other side might be without some players. Again, if they're without Rudy Gobert, Jokic can go nuts. So I see it your way. I mean, Denver just to win the game, why not? Michael Malone, who we talk about often, had nothing but praise for his team a couple of nights ago. I could see why. They're just, you look up and down that roster 1 through 9 right now. That's a good basketball team, very diverse. So I'd be with you. I think they should win that game, even though they're off a big one against Portland last night.
And it's a situation where they can get revenge. So I know you mentioned the rest advantage as well. Back to back for Denver, 1 day of rest for Minnesota. So the same trend or stat I was looking at. Let's look at it a little further, right? Home favorites on a 5+ game win streak in a revenge situation that is not the playoffs. They are unrested, and their opponent does have rest. I have 24-9 straight up. I have 19, 12, and 2 against the spread, which is 61.3%. It says don't even be scared of laying the points here, which I did. I mean, I'm giving you guys options. I think Memphis wins by double digits. I think Denver wins by double digits. But I also, think it's a good opportunity to pair them both together to just win the game outright. So that's the logic school thing for today for me, Rob. There's a few more games in the NBA that we didn't touch just yet. Miami, New Orleans, Sacramento, LA. I think Clippers game versus Utah, Charlotte Hornets versus the Rockets. Any of those you're interested in before we move on to a little bit of NFL? Because I know I started late today. Sorry, guys, but don't have the most time. So any of those that you wanted to touch on, Rob?
Real quick, it would be the most Clippers thing in the world to come back tonight without Paul George and play a great game. They're getting 6.5. I mean, it probably is too much. I don't know that I trust Utah's defense to lay 6.5. So maybe Clips here off of the embarrassing loss last night, or embarrassing fourth quarter, really, because they played a good third quarter. And then I think really fast, so we can get to NFL. I kind of like Charlotte Houston up and over the total. The only thing that always scares me with these two teams, it's certainly not the pace, right? It's just that there are certain nights where they don't shoot well. And I'm going to use shooting well. I'll just define it percentage-wise. If both of these teams shoot 45% from the floor, game's going to go over, and it'll go well over the total. But if somebody goes out there and bricklays 38% tonight from the field, you'll have opportunities because of the pace and because of the shot attempts, but it might not quite get there. I think 236.5 is kind of a low number for these two, especially the way Charlotte's playing right now. No defense, all offense. So I'm going to look that way. Charlotte, Houston, up and over. And I would, slightly recommend the Clippers plus the points here tonight.
All right. And yeah, Charlotte and Houston, worst and second worst defensive rated teams the last 5 games. But to your point about sometimes they don't make shots, I mean, I think they're second worst and third worst 3-point shooting teams on the season. So pace will be there, like you said, as long as a couple of those shots, they can make a couple of those shots, it's going to get well up over the total. So good stuff there, Rob. We did a solid job, quick job on the NBA today. And we have 4 more games, divisional games for the NFL playoffs. I do want to talk at least a little bit about them. I have not done as much work as I'd like. Really, I haven't done enough work at all to place a wager, but I still have opinions. I mean, we've seen these teams all season long. So first thing I'll just mention Kansas City and Jacksonville. Kansas City open -9 here. They're down to 8.5. Total open 52. That one is up to 53. So my first inclination here is, you find somebody, you do one or two things here. You take the Jaguars plus the points because the Chiefs have not been covering big numbers like this all year long. And I think you can go even further back to last year. Or you tease the Kansas City Chiefs down to under a field goal with somebody else because they should just win this game. Even if they don't win by margin, you should at least be able to trust them to win by 3. And I probably lean more towards trusting Kansas City to win by 3 if I can pair somebody up with them. And on the total, I know Kansas City is going to score. This is my thought process. From when I'm watching Kansas City in like playoff games, they always get up big or they always score a lot of points early. And then it's like the second half, they get conservative and don't want to score anymore or something like that. So I'm thinking maybe Chiefs first half or even the first half over because of, that aggressiveness early. And I do think Trevor Lawrence can contribute. So first half over, lean Chiefs on a teaser. How are you feeling about that game, Rob?
Well, I'll say this. We do have a game played regular season to go on here, right? And first of all, it's a great matchup because it's Doug Peterson against Andy Reid, right? Doug Peterson coached under Andy Reid forever. They did play in Kansas City this year. Here's what I'll say. KC won by 10 and lost the turnover battle 3-0. Kansas City committed 3, didn't get any takeaways, and still won by, you're not supposed to even win the game. Never mind win by 10. Now, if you add to that the fact that Jacksonville won a game last week where they committed 5 turnovers. Trevor Lawrence got picked 4 times and still somehow managed to come back and beat the Chargers. I mean, you just don't expect that to happen again, right? And in Kansas City's defense here, because I think and again, I'm with you, because as these days go on, more and more thoughts hit me to where I have to sit down and reassess again. You know what I mean? And the when I saw the turnover margin that I just mentioned in the first battle, that was something new that I hadn't seen until this morning. So still going through this. But I think that if all things are equal, they should both be able to score. They should both probably, we see a push in the total here. You don't want to let it get too high. 54 is a bad place to let it go to. If you like it, it's already over 52, which is a key number. So you play it now before it gets 54. But I think that Kansas City had the chance last week, because they had the bye, to sit back and watch all these higher seed teams get scared. San Francisco was scared at halftime. Seattle was moving the ball all over that so-called vaunted defense. Geno Smith was throwing shots down the field, and Seattle was winning at halftime, I think, 17-16 maybe. Buffalo got scared by a Miami team that had nobody. Cincinnati got scared by a Baltimore team that had a backup quarterback. I mean, KC sits back and looks at all of this to the point of letting up off the gas in the second half. After seeing all that, I'm not so sure. You just don't want to put somebody away, especially a team that just came back from 27-0 deficit. Jacksonville first road playoff game. We'll see. I wasn't thoroughly impressed with Trevor Lawrence in that game. He looks still like he makes some mistakes, but maybe some of those are out of his system now. For what it's worth, Jacksonville's probably played 2 playoff games in a row now. They played Tennessee at home to win the division and even get in, and then they played the Chargers, win that game. And let's speak about Logic Class, because we went to Logic Class on that game last week, and when we were talking about total, and Chargers did wind up scoring many more than they did the first time. Some of that due to turnover, though. I mean, I can't really fault Jacksonville's defense totally. Jacksonville's defense probably kept them in the game. I just don't know that they can do it against this team.
And when just the thought process, I mean, we saw it in that last game. Obviously, Jacksonville's defense in the second half specifically, solid coach over there, are just good at making adjustments. Should we just target the first half, get in and get out? And I mean, that's more towards push me on the first half over. I do think, I don't think Kansas City's defense is great. Jacksonville is going to be able to score on them. And I do think, they'll take advantage of a porous Jacksonville pass defense early and often in the game, but especially early. So first half over, it opened 25.5. I see 126 right now, but I'm seeing a lot of 26.5s. I'm thinking that's one where I need to put in my pocket today. Any last opinion on that first half over 26?
Well, to get there, you just think to yourself, I'm asking for 17-10. Is 17-10 out of the question? Probably not. Will Jacksonville come into that stadium, road venue, and be a little nervous to start the game, and the Chiefs can jump on them? Maybe Chiefs first half team total alone is worth, I don't know what they are. Maybe if it's 26, maybe they're like 13.5. Do you think the Chiefs can get to 14 first half? Probably so. Probably so, right? It sounds real good, right? Especially if Jacksonville comes in a little bit nervous. So yeah, I could see any of that. And in some way, shape, or form, I'm going to get to a couple of plays in that game. I just haven't really defined. And again, like you said, we'll come back on Friday. We're going to try and do this twice a week. We'll come back on Friday and give you a little bit more definitive opinion on where we're at and if we've placed anything yet. But right now, those are the leans that I have.
All right, good stuff. I think we, might touch 1, maybe 2 more games if we have enough time, and then come back, like you said, on Friday and finish them up. So let's go to the other game that's on Saturday. It's the New York Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles. And, I couldn't believe it just thinking about it. We have, 3 NFC East teams in the playoffs? I mean, so much for NFC least, right? They're over here representing. Philly open -7.5, still 7.5. Total open 47.5, and we're looking at 48.5. Um, my initial reaction, which is probably like majority of everybody else, is Giants have been dominant getting points so far this year. I think they're 11-2 against the spread, and I just really trust their coach. I think he makes a lot of good decisions. Um, Dimes was looking good, and in the division game, you kind of expect them to be closer games anyway. I think Philly did take advantage of the Giants earlier in the season, though. Um, but I don't know. I just think in a game like this, Giants can keep it close. I know this is probably the public dog of the week, but what can you say, Rob, to talk me on the other side? Are you a Philly believer? Can it win by more than a touchdown?
I'm not sure because everything we're getting out of Philly camp here in Philadelphia is that Jalen Hurts might still not be right. And if he's not right, and if they can't run him the way that they like to run him, it takes a pretty big piece out of their offense. So I got to really get to the bottom of whether that's just, whether they're playing with the other team here, playing with the opponent. Oh, our quarterback's not healthy yet. Sometimes you leak that stuff on purpose to make the other team ease up a little bit. Now, I don't think Brian Dable will ease up. To your point about divisional matchup, they have played twice, and you're right, Philadelphia destroyed them 48-22 the first time. The last time when Hurts, it was the last week of the season when Hurts really wasn't right, and the Giants were right there, 22-16. Giant pass rush, Ski, is their best asset on defense. They've got some beasts up front that can get after the passer. However, Minnesota played with a patchwork offensive line last week, and Philadelphia won't be the same. So I think giant pass rush will be key here. And Daniel Jones, you mentioned it, using his legs to make a lot of plays last week. But there's really no secrets between these two. They played each other twice. And if we just look back at the third meetings, last weekend, Seattle, San Francisco was a third time around. Seattle, if they were a little better, probably would have given San Francisco a better second half fight. They were good enough to play them for one half and scare them. Cincinnati, Baltimore was right down to the wire. Miami, Buffalo was right down to the wire. And this is third time around. Maybe it's the same. I haven't come to a real conclusion here yet. I'd like to know how healthy Hurts is before I get too involved. But those are just some early thoughts on this game.
Yeah, early thoughts for sure. And on that total, well, I just know when teams play for the third time in the season, it's usually more towards the over as far as the numbers that I was looking at. So maybe a slight lean there, but you definitely need or want Hurts in for that. And would you say, correct me if I'm wrong here, Rob, Philly has been the first half team, Giants have been like the second half team all year, right?
Yeah, Philly first half totals, Ski, were almost like wake up, play them, and cash them. I think they won like 10 in a row at one point, first half overs, and maybe ended up going like 12-3 last 15 or something like that. So they're a really good team out of the chute because the scripted plays that they use on that, their first drive is usually automatic points. So I would say, yeah, first half, Philly very, very fast, and the Giants adjust second half very well. They've done it all season long.
All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind when I'm doing my handicap. If I like Philly early, if I like Philly, I'll take them early. Or if I like the over, I would actually maybe look first half too. And if I like the Giants, we'll look more towards the full game. I think we did a solid job for a quick show on a Wednesday. Touch a little bit of NBA, touch a little bit of NFL. Rob, is there anything that you would like to promote today? And is there one play that we talked about that you maybe like more than the rest?
We'll go quick with the Wager Talk promo here, Ski. If you want to find my work, it's wagertalk.com. Again, drop your email address. It's for free. You wind up getting all the media content that they provide over there each and every day. Guys like Ski, myself, and about 24 others covering games in every sport each and every day. Wagertalk.com. Selection packages up and available over there as well. NBA and college basketball, NFL will be up when we get a little more decisive on things here. As far as one that I like today, Ski, I'll go back to the NBA. I think Charlotte, Houston, I'm going to trust that the two defenses are bad enough that the other teams can shoot at least 45 from the floor. If they get that, and if you get Kevin Porter Jr. back, which is another key here, KPJ ramps up the pace a little bit as well. So I'm going to go there. 236 to me looked a little shy. So Charlotte, Houston, for purposes of the show, over 236 will be the play I leave you with.
Like it, like it, like it. Good stuff on that one for myself. My best bet of the day, and also I have a 5% play up if you would like to check it out at wagertalk.com. But what I will leave you guys with is I did take both the Grizzlies and the Nuggets on the spread. I gave you guys reasons throughout the show why. But I'll repeat this. If you're scared of the numbers on the spread, you can put them on a money line parlay together. It should equal minus 144. Implied probability at that number is 59%. And home favorites on a 5 or more game win streak, dating all the way back to 1994, they win 76.7% of the time. So I think it's a good bet. Rob gave you a good bet. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. And we'll be right back here on Friday. Best of luck to everybody if you tell. Good luck on all your action in general. And we'll catch you guys then.